Hey everybody, ever tried to draw something from looking overhead? We did that in my online class the other day and we had a great time. Let's give it a try. Drawing something from overhead can seem like a real challenge, but if you just look at whatever it is purely in terms of geometric shapes, it gets a lot easier. So let's start with this teacup. What we have is a circle where we have the opening. So that's the first thing that I'm going to use this nice piece of vine charcoal to block in. Okay, so there we go. We've got the opening of the cup. And then the next thing that we need to block in is the saucer. Now the saucer, of course, is larger than the cup, and because we're looking down at it, we're going to see it meet up with the edges of the cup, sort of up at the top here. So right about here, I'm going to block in another circle. Now you may wonder, why am I making circles instead of ellipses? Well, whenever you're looking down at something, your ellipses become so wide that they actually look more circular than elliptical. Okay, the higher up you are, the more you're looking down at something, the more of a perfect circle you're going to see. And if you use the edge of your charcoal to make your circles, it's going to be a lot easier. They're going to come out much more accurately than if you try to draw them with the point of the charcoal. Okay, I just want to make that saucer shape just slightly larger. And I have it positioned so that the cup is sitting a little bit further back in the saucer. Okay, one of the other things, the other circles that we have to make is the circle that represents the bottom of the cup. And that is pretty much hitting right up to the edge of the opening in this bottom area here. Okay, and then we'll have to add in a hint of where we see the handle. Now the handle is really just a horizontal shape that sticks out, and on my side here I can see just a little tiny bit of where it's intersecting with the cup at the bottom. Okay, now the last thing that we're going to want to do is put in some shadow underneath the saucer. Okay, and as you know, wherever an object meets up with the surface it's sitting on, that's where it's going to be the darkest. Okay, so we've got our overall shapes blocked in, and we can already sort of start to see the beginnings of a cup sitting on a saucer. What we need to do next is increase our dark values as well as our light values. So we're going to start out in the middle with our nice overall shapes rendered in this fine charcoal, and then we're going to push our darks and push our lights using a black pastel and a white pastel. Okay, so let's see, let's go with our darks first. So as I said, underneath that saucer, that's where we want to get really, really nice and dark. We can also just define our edges a teeny tiny bit, the edge of that saucer where the cup is sitting on it over here, and maybe a little bit on the edge here of the cup itself. Okay, and then here's another interesting thing that you'll notice if you're drawing anything that has an opening in it. Whichever side your light is hitting the inside, the opposite side is going to have the light hitting it on your drawing. So we have the light over here, so let's just shade that nice sort of diagonal shadow on the interior. You don't want to lose the bottom there. And then if that's our shadow side on the interior, our shadow side on the saucer is probably going to be a little bit more over on this right-hand side. Okay, so we'll get some of that in. All right, so again, we're just looking at big geometric forms. Okay, now it's time to have a little bit of fun because I've got this white pastel, which is always a fun thing to work with. You can really pull out your highlights especially if you're working on newsprint, which is not a pure white surface. I always recommend, if you're working in charcoal, not to work on a pure white drawing paper because you're not going to be able to use the white pastel or the white charcoal to really make things pop. Okay, so let's start to do that. Now on the interior, there's this beautiful little highlight that sort of defines where the bottom of that cup is. There are a few little highlights on the surface of the inside itself. And see over here where I've got the newsprint, if I press really hard, I can actually see that nice bit of highlighting there. Okay, and you can use your white pastel very, very subtly on top of the paper. Okay, and then let's just get a little bit more, some of these highlights that run along the rim, just a little bit up here. Okay, we've got a little bit more down in that area. And then this side over here is where we said we wanted to have some light on the plate itself. Oh, and there's a cat scratching. Okay, he's having a good time there himself. And I just want to get a little bit more shadow underneath the saucer here, and maybe a little tiny bit more on the interior. And we could call this done. If you never feel like you have to put the patterning on a drawing if you've got a pattern object. If you wanted to, what you would do is you would keep your pattern a little bit more visible in the places where it's in light, and a little bit more subtle where it goes into shadow. So using this vine charcoal, what I would do is just not press as hard in the areas where it's in the shadow. Just want to define that edge a little tiny bit more, maybe throw in, whoops, a little bit of some white. And then I think we're going to call this done. There we go. Well, that was fun. If you enjoyed this exercise, be sure to check out my online classes at Kullaf.com. We have a great time learning and meeting other artists and sharing our work. For more information, just go to Kullaf.com and click on Online Learning. And in the meantime, if you like this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.